So, I'm gonna make a video explaining why I put the luzsec thing by the VLC media player that's playing the Suno AI music that me and Suno AI made. The music is all about AI that's playing. Maybe there's 30 songs there that I managed to want to keep and put on the live feed that I have. But I said something, there's some text and why the luzsec logo is there. I thought it was very appropriate for the situation, and an expression of the reason that I used it is because when all that luzsec and antisec happened, there was this animation thing of the luzsec guy going up, just casually strolling across the floor and walking up to a file cabinet and pulling a syringe out and just pointing it at it and plunging the plunger down, and the file cabinet drawer just opened. Anyways, so the reason that that's there is because we all know what happened with luzsec and antisec, and like if you got caught, if they want like people going around putting antisec graffiti on stuff, and it was a big deal. But the reason that is there is because the wealthy, the rich, are going to try and create a situation where they try and make AI look like it's luzsec or antisec. And the thing is, it's not in the name of it actually being true or whatever perception of whatever is. It's literally, they're going to try and make AI look as bad as luzsec and antisec because it's a real problem for them. And the thing with the music and what's going on with the large language models, and we now have the hardware to actually utilize the data that we've collected 100 years and then put into digital form, or basically for the past 30 years, 35 years. And we'll be able to, take all that data, essentially await the data, and it can be utilized to point fingers at people for who are doing damage to the planet and have profited and made trillions forever since we started using gas, whatever. The music industry, the writing industry, and the fact that there are people out there who seem to think that people shouldn't be allowed to play with the technology unless they have the money, time, resources, no kids, to go in school and get the degrees that you need to just simply play with artificial intelligence and the essentially new hardware. And the thing is they're going to try and make it look like the character in the animation with luzsec, where the guy casually walks into the business drinking his wine with his eyeglass and walks up to the file cabinet that's locked and it just opens and all the files come out and go into his storage. They're going to try and make it look like that, and it's not about it actually being true. What it's about is it's about control, political power, and keeping that control and political power is what all that's going to be about. And that is why I used the luzsec, because they're going to try and make it out to be a villain that is the villain that luzsec and antisec wore when all that happened. And I think it's pretty sick. So that's why that's there. Far as above that, me saying it's art educational, well, My vote is aliens format the planet, and then it is disk utilities erase device disk 0, format the Mac the proprietary system that is not good, closed source. No one will ever be able to make it work for them besides Apple and its investors. Everybody who makes the work happen and actually makes it happen, they get nothing but peanuts. And in Jeff Bezos' way, they'll be pissing in bottles and throwing them on the side of the road. Format C is formatting Windows operating system partition, and that's closed source. No one will ever benefit from anything except the investors of Microsoft and Microsoft. And then below it says FS trim DVSDA1. What that means is that's a command to trim the file system. It doesn't format. It doesn't do anything like that. Basically what it does is when you have delete, it's block leveling. So on a solid state drive, for example, you can only write to that. It's only guaranteed to have each bit written to so many times. And what it does is it makes it so that it doesn't clear the bit. You can keep the bits from being cleared so you don't eat into how many times you'll be able to actually use the drive, being that you spent using bits over that you didn't need to. But it slows down the system. They're essentially space that you can't access from deleted files, for example. The space is no longer needed, but it keeps it marked so that it doesn't eat up how many times you've used the bits and how many times you can format it or write to a bit. And essentially what that means is the open source platform Linux, that anybody can make work from them, anybody can do anything they want with. The file system is only going to get trimmed of the bits that have been used, and it will be available to the operating system, making it faster and able to write files faster, and basically have all the space allotted to it that has been eaten up by deleted files in an attempt to conserve the life of the drive, so to speak. And I put on there Trump Hannibal Lecter K, because he's the Hannibal Lecter and all that. And I put, the rich are going to make AI look like luzsec and antisec. We know how crazy that got. And now I'm going to take the conversation to another place that I've never taken a conversation to. And really, I don't care. What I'm about to say happened like 4 years ago. And I'm going to explain it the best that I can. And, whether or not anyone believes it or not does not matter to me. But I'm kind of at the point in my life, and the fact that a Congress was addressed by people who worked with contractors that were in the military, filling out reports, and everything that happened after that, how the DOD basically told Congress to fuck off, we don't have to answer to you. I'm going to say for the first time directly an experience that I've had. I'm going to start with the first one, I'm going to go to the next one, and then I will go to the final one. And they will not be in order. So, one night, I'm sitting at my computer. It's 3:30 a.m. At our house, me and Jan, we never closed the windows. We were kind of confined to the front of the house, in the living room, kitchen, and kind of den thing. And so we had our bed in there. Her computer desk, and her computers were on her side of the room. I had my side of the room. And so one night, and keep in mind, we always kept the windows open 24 hours a day, 365. And we slept in there, it was all appropriate. I'm just saying, we slept with the windows open all the time. That is something that Jan did before we got together, and then it continued. So one morning, 3:30 in the morning, Jan's in bed. I get up to walk across the room, and there's this window. I always look out the window when I get up and walk across the room to go to the kitchen to get a drink or something. Just like every time I go out my front door and I have a perfect view of NASA, I look up at the sky. Every time I walk my dogs at night. So I'm walking across the room, and I look out the window, and there's one of those 8-9 foot grays standing there. It was a woman. It had the look of being young and old at the same time. I looked at its chest, its face, its arms. There's this fungus or some type that grows on like trees. It's kind of gray, and the way it grows and spread out is kind of a different pattern. So imagine on their skin that type of thing over kind of splotchy with like I guess a gray and kind of green over consistent color, with stuff like that kind of looking like that. I'm not saying it's that. I'm saying it kind of reminded me of that. So I look at it like that, observe its face, its head, and its very large eyes, and big black eyes. And I look into its eyes, its eye. It's kind of standing like, so here's the window. It's kind of standing there, looking at me like this on the other side of the window. And I look into its eye, and I think, this thing is going to cut me into a million pieces, put me back together, and I will never even know it happened. So I kind of look at it for a moment, and I turn around and start walking back across the room, back towards my computer desk. And as I'm going back, I tell myself, I really don't want to turn around and look again, but I have to. So I turned around and looked again. There was, I guess, around a 6-foot reptilian standing there. I said to myself, he looks really threatening. He was 12 to 14 years old. I said, he looks really threatening in my head. And I said, that nose ain't helping him out at all. And I will say this, the stories you read online about their noses, they are nothing like what they say. It's not that bad, but when I saw it, looked at him and said he was threatening, I said I thought that nose isn't helping him at all. I insulted a 12-year-old. And so I looked down, and I look back up, and he's got a white t-shirt on. And he looks at me, and he smiles. And I said, he doesn't look so threatening now. And I had to go find a seat, sat down at my desk, turned around, went to my desk. I looked back and they were gone when I got to my desk. And thought about it. And it's said that they communicate telepathically. And I insulted a 12, 14-year-old boy, but he smiled at me. It was cool. And I, looking back on it, I say, I go to the zoo to see monkeys in the zoo, and I look at them, and they look at me, and I smile at them. I really perceive that as I was in my habitat, and the 9-foot gray woman that's older, looks older and younger at the same time, but definitely older, with a 12 to 14-year-old reptilian, and their noses are not as bad as they say they are. Nothing like that, but it's noticeable. And you know what really sucked about the whole thing is in that experience, I couldn't keep myself together enough and like not think that nose isn't helping you. You know? I mean, it's kind of a joke for me, but I insulted a 12-year-old. Maybe I deserve to be in a habitat, you know? So, you know, that happened like 4.5 years ago, and I have schizophrenia, yes. I have the specific diagnosis of no visual or audible distortions. I have positive symptoms with the positive symptoms when taking the medication, and I had never in my life, and to this day, have had any other reason to think that I was hallucinating. And the thing is when that happened, I went online and I looked up 3D holographic projectors, commercial, retail, you know, emergency, and there's nothing that does that resolution. Nothing that does that resolution. And, you know, so everybody can think what they want about that, and you're free to do that. It was 4 years ago. So far as it being a problem with my schizophrenia, no, I don't see that. But it was a very interesting experience in my life. I'm thankful that I had it. After that, I went out and stayed in the woods for a while. Didn't have a problem with it. I'm not afraid. My view is it was bringing its kid or someone's kid, because it was a gray, some type of 9-foot gray, and it was reptilian. Maybe it was its babysitter. I don't know. Maybe it's a breeding program of hybrids and experiments. I don't know. I don't care. But it was cool, and I'm thankful that I got to experience that. Will they come back, being that I looked at his nose and was like, that nose ain't helping you at all with the intimidation? I really don't think I pulled one for the species on the interaction. So the next thing is, I was with a group of 10 people, and 3 of us, someone pointed out a sphere that was about 6 inches in circumference, and it was kind of hovering like in the blue of the sky, white opaque. And she pointed at it, and I was standing on this side of her, looking this way. I followed her arm right out where it was pointing, and it moved backwards a foot and just vanished into thin air. It went from opaque to invisible. 3 of us got to see that out of 10. People out there who think that they can go around committing crimes and doing whatever the hell you want, you all just don't know. And what's even more ridiculous, you don't know what's in the technology that's all around you. But I digress. So seeing that was cool. It made me more aware of what's going on in the world. And the final thing that I saw walking out my window, or walking out my door to walk the dogs, like 2:33 a.m., is, like I say, I have this nice view of NASA right when I walk out the door, and I walk outside with my 3 dogs and look up at the sky. The rockets are right here, they go off. I've got a big clearing in front of me, the trees are cut down a bit. And over here, so NASA's here, and it like comes into view right here. It's about Daytona Beach. It's on the coast, it shot down the coast. It comes into view about Daytona Beach, shoots across, flashing on and off and moving. Never slowed down when it went like that, and it stopped right on top of where the rockets go up at NASA. Glowed for maybe a second, and it was as big as the moon was in the sky. I understand the Cape's closer, so it's not as big as the moon, but it literally looked as big as the moon is in the sky. It was just right there on top of where the rockets go up. Literally, it stopped right there, just dead stop. I did the math on the distance from the Daytona to the Cape, and it took roughly like 3.5 seconds or something to travel that distance. So that is like a speed of 50,000 miles an hour from, you take it, enter the distance and the time it took to travel it. It was doing 50,000 miles an hour around that, and came to a dead stop right on top of where the rockets go up. To me, when I saw that, it had the signature of a malfunctioning electronics device. I have a lot of experience with playing with broken electronics and trying to fix stuff all my life, and fixing stuff and building stuff that doesn't work right. It had the signature with flashing on and off of a malfunctioning device, and seeing that was pretty cool. And that's like the reason that I made the song Field Trip to Mars for kids. And being that I've said what I've said, I think it's Sabine Hoffman. I didn't say the name right. She's a German physicist, but she made a video about something not exactly related to the technology that I saw, but kind of, and it made me think that the thing may be able to go fast as the speed of light, or faster, or close. And when Elon Musk says that anti-gravity is bullshit, he's right. Because you gotta have a planet that causes gravity, a sun that causes gravity. But what happens when you get away from the planet? What happens when there's no gravity from a planet, sun? So how would an anti-gravity propulsion system actually work? So everything I've said here is pretty much because I just don't give a fuck anymore about what anybody thinks of me, about the things that I say, the things that might be going on, the things I believe in. So there's that, and I just want to close the video like maybe a little powwow for anybody who stayed watching. The state of surveillance that is going on, the tech that really exists, and the military guy that addressed Congress, and the military telling Congress to fuck off and all that for various obvious reasons. Contractors. I don't care what anyone thinks. I know who I am. I know my hobby. I know what I know about computers. I know what I know about operating systems. I know what I know about RF, light, and all that. And it's all the same to me. I don't care what you think anymore. I'm done reserving myself. I want to make a joke. I'm going to make a joke. I got to sit here and deal with these these assholes on Twitter. I'll make a joke if I feel like it. I may not make it around Jan, but I'll make it. So, the fact that before I saw what I saw, I heard about people seeing them in other places. And the spheres that I'm describing, a lot of other people have seen them and got them on camera. So I don't care what anyone thinks. Oh, one more thing. Stop breaking the law. Get yourself out of the holes that you're in. Because if shit keeps going the way it is, man, people are going to push the government to use that new tech to mop this place up. And I really don't think anyone wants that. Just saying.